Welcome back, Trailblazers. Today, we're taking a look at the M5 Max from Luckkeep.
Let's get this thing unboxed real quick and then we'll talk about it on the ride. First, we need to get it out of the cardboard. It's easiest just to cut the sides so you have access to everything. We're taking out the front wheel along with the accessory box. I gotta say, this bike is packaged very well and mine did not come in with any damage. It also looks like it's mostly assembled, so we just gotta get the handlebars and the front wheel onto this thing. I'm gonna put the handlebars on first, that way it is easier to move the bike around. Next, we're removing the battery, which does come pre-installed, that way we have a little bit less weight as we try to put the front wheel on. This bike does use a budget through axle design that should be plenty strong. Next up is our headlight, which is just held on by these two bolts on the side with this bracket that is pre-installed on the fork. Make sure to plug this in and tuck the wire behind the headlight. The front fender is held on by a single bolt with a locking nut on the back. And one of our last steps, we're putting on the plastic pedals both on the right and left side. You need the key to unlock the battery cover. The battery just slides in and then the connector plugs into the top.
Alright guys, we are checking out the Luckkeep M5 Max now. This is a 20x4 fat tire bike that has a 52 volt 20 amp hour battery. You can get this with two batteries totaling 40 amp hours. It has a 1500 watt nominal motor and it claims a peak of 2000 watts and a speed of 37 miles an hour. This thing does have a nice big headlight and turn signals, so we're going to be going through some of the testing of this bike, including a top speed as well as a hill climb. So we are just going to pin it here. It's cutting us off at 35 miles an hour on the screen, and we will see in a second if that is accurate. 32 is what that's saying, and this is saying 34, so it seems like this thing is a little bit slower than it claims. Alright, here is our extended hill climb. We're gonna turn in, we're doing about 15, but start the timer now. We can see it climbing up this quite steep hill. You know, on camera, these things never look quite as steep as they do in real life, but this thing is chugging along up the hill. I think if we pedal, we can get a little bit more torque out of it. But this hill climb shows us two things. One, the torque of the motor and what kind of speeds you're going to be getting while climbing up the hill. And also, because this is such a long climb, we are also going to be testing the endurance of both the motor and the controller, because we're running it all the way out. See, we are slowing down to 17 as we get to this really steep part. I might start pedaling to give it a little bit more power. We can see the voltage sagging, so if we hit this button, we can actually change on the screen over to our voltage. So we are voltage sagging down to 53 volts. As you can see, as we get on a flatter bit, it picks up some more speed and then slows right back down again. But while we're climbing away, while this thing's struggling to climb away, let's talk about the seating position. The seat is quite wide and pretty comfortable, even for me, as I am 5'6", about 145 pounds. It does allow you to pedal. I wouldn't say it's the best pedaling position, but there's definitely bikes with worse ones, because I can actually put in my power, and I'm getting a pretty good leg extension. Not that most people are going to be pedaling this bike. I really think this is a throttle bike, and I think that we will enjoy this thing a bit more with more power. I just don't want that truck sitting behind me. All right, we're gonna whip it back around. Low speed maneuverability, good. And in this section, I'm gonna show you guys a little bit more of that low speed maneuverability that this bike has. See, this thing's super nimble. I did find that the throttle was a little touchy in the beginning, but I did turn that down. You can adjust a lot of things. And coming in here, we have a nice twisty section. So this is going to tell us how the handling is. We can see that the battery meter went back up now that the voltage tag is gone and it's not under load. So that tells me that this isn't necessarily the most powerful battery, even though on the battery it says that it can output 60 amps. Spoilers, I actually opened this thing up and took a look at the controller as well. The controller is rated for 28 amps plus or minus 1 amp. And then go into the screen, you can actually adjust how many amps this thing will output. But let me talk about that in a second. We're gonna hit this corner. The brakes are good, by the way. Yeah, 36, I'm holding it pinned and I'm motor cut off. This is as fast as this thing's gonna go. But what I was saying is in the screen, this actually limits it to 20 amp max. And in the default setting, it was only set to 14 amps. So you are gonna wanna go into the settings and turn this thing up. Or you're putting some performance on the table.
To be able to adjust the power, we first need to turn on the bike, hold the M button. This will come up, NFC card, and then we are going to hold the up and down buttons at the same time. Mine doesn't have a password, and to turn up the power, we're going to go up to P14, and on default, this will be set to 14. We're going to want to turn it all the way up to 20. And it does circle around, so you cannot go higher than 20.
I actually reached out to Luckkeep and asked them why it limits it to only 20 amps. And they told me that basically they found that this motor doesn't really go any faster, and it did increase the torque, but it significantly decreased the range of the bike. So that's why they have the screen configured to do a max of 20 amps, even though the controller can do 30. So you are leaving 30% performance on the table as it stands. But that is not going to be a problem for us because we are planning on converting this thing fully to 72 volts. We're going to do a whole build on this thing. So you're going to want to stay tuned to my channel. Hit that subscribe button down below and hit that like button as well if that's something you're interested in. Right now, we're just riding on some dirt to get a feeling for the suspension. This isn't terrible, but this is definitely a more budget suspension option. On the road, it feels pretty good, but here, I can tell you already that it's definitely no dirt bike. This thing's definitely street optimized. The torque feels pretty good, though. The acceleration is quite good. I also like the seating position of this thing. It makes it feel like a little cafe racer, which it may not have quite the aesthetics, but it definitely has the feel of it. Actually, we're gonna stop here for just a second so I can show you around the bike again. So, stepping off the bike for a second, you'll notice that our suspension does not have any adjustability. What it comes with is what you get. Looks like we have like 180 mil rotors, I think, with 2-piston hydraulic brakes that do use DOT3 and 4 fluid. That is a very good thing. That means it will take more temperature before they start to boil, which should reduce brake fade. You got this big headlight with running lights, and if we come over here and hit this control right here, you'll see that both of our lenses do turn on. We also have a tail light on the rear of the bike. Don't mind my camera mount. This is just to give you guys some other camera angles. We have this, come over to this side, the 52 volt, 20 inch, 1500 watt. We got these rear shocks. These are not adjustable. The battery sits in here. I didn't bring the key with me or else I'd pop this open and show you how that goes in, but I'll bring up a clip of that now.
To be able to remove the battery, you just undo the key, lift this up, pull that, and this just slides right on out.
The controller lives right in here, and all of your wiring comes in from the other side. We have a Mickey Mouse style shifter. I'm just going to leave this in 7 because I'm not really planning on pedaling that. And we have a Shimano Tourney derailleur, which is fine. You're not really using this. One thing I do like about this bike is all of the cable management routes that goes through the frame. So like as you see, the derailleur comes up through the frame, comes down. A lot of the parts over here run up through the frame into here. And then also like in the front, the wires come through here and out this gap in the side, which I think is a really nice touch. You also have this basket that is super secure, a pretty standard kickstand, plastic pedals, fender that is plastic, doesn't rattle. Got a nice big one back here that will stop you from getting sprayed with mud and stuff. And a pretty solid construction. Look at this like bent bar. I really like the design language of this bike. It's really cool, which is why I wanted to build this. A little bit of inspiration came from Maximum Charge and his MotorGoat V3. So I didn't want to build the same bike, but I like how this one looks. We also have this BMX style handlebars, which if you want more upright riding position, you can tilt it up, but I tilted it back and kind of closer to me because it kind of gives it this like, I don't know, cafe racer feel. All right, let's get this back on the road. We're gonna do a 0 to 20 test. I do want to say, I don't believe that this is accurate, but by hitting the M button, you can cycle through the time, your miles, the trip, the max miles an hour. And this is what I want. This is our voltage, which is going to tell us the true, how much power we have left in the battery. 0 to 20 tests, no pedaling. 3, 2, 1, go. 10, 20. Not bad. Honestly, this thing has a good level of performance. As a more affordable bike, at the time of making this video, this thing costs $1,500, which is a mid-range bike. I'm just so tired of seeing 48 volt bikes. 52 volts is the bare minimum for me. I don't feel like I want a 48 volt bike, and I don't really recommend it unless you're just trying to chill and use it like a normal bike. But on this channel, we cover high-speed bikes because that's the kind of stuff we like. This thing does ride really smooth. It feels super nimble. Like you can just kind of throw it into turns. It doesn't feel wobbly or anything. I really have no complaints with this bike at the moment. All right, another example of a hill climb, coming back up on this steep part. We can see it's just burning down our miles per hour, which this is the main difference between like an e-moto and an e-bike, is that once you get on a road with an e-bike, you struggle with some of the terrain. While an e-moto would be ripping straight up this thing. The seat is quite big, and if you scooch back on it, it does allow you to, like if you were a taller person, you could sit on the passenger seat part and get full leg extension, although it is a little awkward to do that. Another thing to mention is that this hub motor is quite loud. I'm just going to slow down real quick, and we're going to check what this thing does on the different pedal assist levels. So on level 1, cuts you off at 10, at 2, 17. And I think 3 will give you full speed, but we're just gonna keep going. I'm gonna show you how to tune this thing because straight out of the box, I found that the pedal assist was kind of sketchy. It pushed really aggressively, so I turned that down, and now it feels more reasonable because you're gonna be on throttle when you want to ride this thing aggressively. You want your pedal assist to be soft. That way, when you're on a bike trail and passing people, you don't bother them. This thing handles really good though. Suspension could use some upgrades, to be honest, but... Test the brakes real quick. Yeah, they're good, which is important. If you're gonna have a fairly fast bike, you need to have your brakes working good. I also did an evening ride on this as the first ride, so I'm gonna post a little bit of the footage of me riding with the headlight on the trail, so you can see what that looks like. I really like this bike. I really think it's quite unique, and I think that you should consider this thing. If you're looking for a pretty decent and reasonably priced bike out of the box, as well as one that can take upgrades quite well. I'm gonna be going through that soon. Here is a little preview of some of the stuff that's going on that bike. This is my QS205, my 72 volt, 24 amp hour, my Far Driver ND72 450. We're also gonna be swapping my old Talaria suspension onto the front of this because it may not be the best suspension, but it's better than what it came with. Then we're also going to be wrapping some Shinko 241s onto the rear because we're going to be running the Talaria's 17-inch wheel with Shinko 241. But anyways, if you want to check that out, please do. If you guys are interested in this bike, please use my affiliate code down below and on the screen when you go to purchase this if you think this is the right bike for you. For no extra cost to you, you'll support the channel and I'll get a little bit of kickback and you'll help support independent reviews on this channel. For round town riding, I really like how this bike feels. You can pretty easily pop up onto the curb. If you ride mostly dirt, this isn't the bike for you. But if you're just looking for something that can do 35 around town, this thing's pretty cool. Remember, you can always get that second battery that slots right in here. They will be sending me one, but it is not here yet for this first video. But look at this handling, like it's so nimble, it feels fun and smooth. And this thing looks awesome. That's a big point of this bike is the style of it. There's a million bikes that look like the, Super 73 and the MotorGoat V3. This thing has a more futuristic rather than a old school kind of choppery vibe. I don't know. That one looks like a Harley. This looks like a futuristic cafe racer, in my opinion. I'll put up the claimed range, but in my experience, I've done one ride on this thing. We did about 16 miles and ran it down to about 40%. So if you're pedaling, your mileage might be better, but I was basically holding this thing wide open. Yeah, I really don't feel out of place riding around town on this. It's got pedals, it's not all that powerful, and I think it looks cool. It's got enough of a presence that people will kind of give you a little bit of room, but it's definitely not something that a cop's gonna look at and be like, oh yeah, I should definitely pull him over. Hey guys, this is a couple days later. I just want to give my closing thoughts, but I wanted to demonstrate a couple more things. So the battery percentage is not accurate. This is claiming it's at 98%. Well, it's at 53.9 volts, which puts us more at like the 70% range. I have been getting pretty good mileage out of this bike. I would say that you can comfortably get 20 plus miles out of using throttle only, at least for me, at 145 pounds. And I just want to point out a couple things that I like and don't like about this bike. These brakes that come with the bike are actually really good. They are DOT 3 and 4, and these are actually significantly larger than the standard 2-piston brakes that you'd see on most bikes. So when it's in 0, your throttle is disabled. It is a full twist. Overall, the cockpit's pretty good. I added this. If you want a mirror, you can get it on Amazon. Check the link below for that, along with the phone holder if that's something you want. But in 0, our throttle doesn't work. We turn it up to 1, and it will give us full power on throttle. I usually just leave this in level 1 since the throttle doesn't change. And the pedal assist, I don't really like the way it ramps up the speed. But I'm just gonna hold this thing basically wide open. This is a pretty extended incline. So you can see that we do get voltage sag on this bike, but with the controller turned up to that full 20 amps, it really does strike a really good balance of range and performance. We're pretty easily able to cruise at 30 miles an hour up this trail. And if you're willing to stand on this, it's really not that bad in the dirt. It is very lively and flickable. It is optimized for the road. It really has no problems doing some smoother trails, like rails to trails and stuff like that. And you got the pedals to make you legal, but you still have that twist throttle with enough performance to make the thing fun. We'll stop it real quick and we'll do a full throttle launch. Keep in mind that we are at 52 volts, so we are quite low in the battery. So this isn't the full power, but even when you're getting down and you twist it, 10, 20, and keep in mind, that's at like 52 volts uphill. It's got enough torque, it's not bad. And you see, we're still climbing up, it hasn't given up. We just hit 30. So this thing is pretty dang efficient. Even with the single 20 amp hour battery, I'm getting acceptable range from this thing in basically throttle only. I will say, if you don't turn up that P14 setting to 20, up from the either 12 or 14 it's originally set at, you will experience worse voltage sag going up hills, and it won't be as fun of a bike. But once you fix that setting, this thing performs admirably for its price point. This thing really does deliver good value for the money. You get dual suspension, you get a 52 volt, 20 amp hour battery, along with a torquey motor that can bring you up to 35, not the 37 it claimed. And the power output that they claim also is not accurate for the Max, because 20 times 52 does not equal 2,000. I'll have that up on the screen for you. But despite those claims not being 100% true, I do think this is still really good value. It's super unique, it's super fun to ride, and yeah, I've probably put like 70 miles on this thing since it has been sent to me, and I've enjoyed every moment of it, and I will have the video upgrading this thing very soon, and yes, you can stand on it. And stay on the lookout for the 72-volt Titan version of this bike, which is going to be an OEM 72-volt M5 chassis bike. I'm super excited to see that from Luckkeep, and I'm super excited to test it against my 72-volt conversion, which is going to be the next video. Anyways, I'll catch you in that next one, and hit that subscribe button down below. See ya.